Yeah.
I'm sad because some of these journal entries are sad. But I'm happy because I'm 10 years sober, bro.
Hello, Tony, and welcome to your own show.
Hi, Rano. Thank you so much for that introduction. Welcome to Trauma Time with Tony Quinn on Truth Hurts, where we discuss my journals from the age of 12 to the age of 33 and track my journey to addiction, to anorexia, and finally recovery. So I started reading these on TikTok, like going through a few little entries and stuff like that, but obviously there's not enough time on TikTok in TikTok videos to go through everything and to almost analyze them. I tried. It's going really well. It's like a few videos going through a few certain key moments in my life. But now we're going to dive deep and kind of analyze my thinking, how I kind of go from this delusional child to thinking, I don't know, the world kind of owes me a favor, to obsessing about only popularity and this deep dive into just depression, isolation, self-annihilation, and victim mode. Okay, so
Good.
Rhino, this is my first journal, my guy. This is it.
Awesome.
It's falling apart. The first page is just, there's no point in reading this. But it starts from when I was in grade 6. So just before I went into high school. But I feel like I'm going to start from when I just started high school, because that's when things kind of become more clearer and things start to get a little bit scary. So here is the 28th of January, 1999. Yes, 1999 was my first year of high school. I am old as fuck. Okay, can we just appreciate that? Fine. Okay, we accept it. So, also I'm going to change names, because there are some people that really do get mentioned a lot throughout the journals, and for those people I'm going to change their names. Other people I'm just not going to use names, you know. Get it? Got it? Good. 28th of January, 1999. Dear Diary, I'm also reading it the way I wrote it, so don't judge me. I am in high school for like 3 weeks now. I am so happy. I have made so many friends. Clara and Sarah moved to another high school. How cool is that? I don't need anyone to boss me around anymore. I'm so excited for it. Clara was bossing me around my whole life, and I've never stood up to her. I hate her. I hate what she's done to me. How's this? She says she doesn't give a fuck about me, and her mom doesn't give a fuck about me. They have been mean to me my entire life. They told me that this year in my new school, I won't be in class with any of my friends. That's not true. There is a girl in my class that I know. Clara is not the same person she was when we met. She has become meaner and more horrible to me, and I'm happy she's no longer at my school. I'm looking forward to the year to come, and I'm looking forward to meeting a few more guys. And then I list a bunch of guys that I like. Homies, I'm not saying your names. Some of them are watching, I'm sure. I'm joking. They probably don't even know I exist.
Chris.
Hey?
Chris.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Dude, I went to King David, a Jewish school. There's no one named Chris.
Okay, David.
But good try. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, and then I say, I draw a heart and I write, love always, Tony. And then I put a quote at the bottom which says, you make the darkness bright. Okay, so can we analyze this one?
Yeah, I don't know where to begin. I think, wow.
Well, I'll tell you about Clara and that history.
Sarah.
Clara.
Okay.
Clara.
Clara.
So from the age of 9 to the age of 12, Clara was my best friend, and her mother was my mom's best friend. The thing is, I mentioned how Clara bullied me and bossed me around in this journal, but what I don't seem to write about just yet, because I do write about it, is how much her mother terrorized me, absolutely terrorized me from the age of 9 to the age of 12. And like I say a lot, I take accountability for most things in my life. Like addiction, absolutely take accountability. But when I was a 9-year-old girl being bullied by a 40 or something year old woman, I cannot take accountability for that and what that did to me, you know? She used to do things like, this woman, she was obsessed with popularity and making us popular in pre-high school. I've never known a mother to obsess about making their child popular. And one day she sat us down outside their house and gave us like a game plan to become friends with the popular girls. We were like 10 at this point, 10 or 11 at this point. And it made me think, you know, that being popular and being pretty was the be all and end all. And if you weren't that, what were you? You were nothing. And that was kind of drummed into my head. And she would also do things like tell me I'm not thin enough. She would tell me that boys won't like chubby girls. She wouldn't just tell me this. She told this to our group of friends. And she told me that my hair was ugly because it was curly. And she told me that my nose was ugly. And she was cruel. She was a cruel woman. And I think what happened was, you know, Clara grew up in a household like that. And I do not blame Clara for anything, you know, that I experienced from her, especially as a kid, you know, bullying me, being mean to me. I think it's all fed by that home environment. And I feel like that is something I need to say, because as this journal goes on, there's a lot of resentment that I have toward Clara. But I feel like that resentment should be toward the mother, and something that I have worked through in recovery somewhat. The problem is, going through this, I'm realizing all the other stuff that she did to me. And it's bringing back a lot of memories I completely suppressed. And it's horrifying at the age of 36 to look back at this and think, would I do that to a child? Would I do that to a child? Who does that? And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But so that's the story of Clara and her mother.
Yeah.
A lot of people are probably going to ask how my family allowed that to happen. My father did not allow that to happen. He did not stand for it. He completely despised this woman, despised her, to the point that a few years ago, before he passed away, he said something to her in a restaurant because he knew what she had done to me. And my mom at that point was very vulnerable, going through a lot at home. And this woman, it's almost like she manipulated her. But again, there's a lot more to that story that I don't know about. But all I know is that this was a big part of my childhood. And it did shape me quite a bit. And one more thing. Oh, I love that this isn't a TikTok video because I can say so much. Sorry. You know, in the journal, I say, okay, I've gone to high school and Clara and her mom told me I'm going to be in a class with people I don't know. Here's the thing, Ryan. Whew. Clara's mom knew people at the school who assigned the classes. I was put into a class that didn't have my friends from primary school. I was put in it. I found that out. I found out for a fact that that is what happened.
Deliberately.
And it shaped the rest of my school career. So yeah, I feel like that needs to be said as well. And I've been wanting to say that for years.
So was that deliberately? So you were placed in a class without friends, and who was responsible for that?
Clara's mother's, I'm not going to say who Clara's mother knew at the school, but she was a receptionist and someone who planned the classes.
Okay. And so there's definite ill intent there. So she had something She had it out for you.
Absolutely. She had it, and it wasn't just me. So I don't want to say, I think I was a big target because I was a massive part of their lives. But I know other women my age who experienced the same treatment from this woman.
So do you think that that was, not to delve too much into Clara's mother's issues, but do you think that's maybe born out of some kind of trauma that she went through when she was at a similar age, or some kind of jealousy, like
Yeah,
looking at
probably.
these young kids, and I want to make them more popular because when I was their age, I wasn't able to. And
It could,
somehow that's her trying to relive her childhood, vicariously through these, up and coming youngsters.
yeah, like, look, I don't like to take other people's inventory. Maybe she did have a traumatic childhood that kind of shaped her. But, and I do understand that. But honestly, fuck her.
No, the second point is that I think people who verbally abuse, or kind of like what she did was she manipulated, and she kind of it's a form of abuse, some kind of like verbal
Yeah,
abuse, or gaslighting.
very much.
Whereas with physical abuse, I think it's you can see it more, but I think both there's lasting effects and damage that's done, So with physical abuse, you can see children with bruises, or you can say this person hit me. But to say something like this person said I should be more popular, there's no like way of kind of policing that, or keeping that at bay, or even seeing it as a wrong thing, because they can just say, oh no, I want these kids to be liked. Do you know what I mean? But it's actually
Exactly.
abuse.
Exactly. Another thing, I think, at that time in the 90s, that was like, not even, yeah, like probably from 1993 upwards. That kind of stuff was just fine. Bullying was just fine. It was things like, you just need to go through that as a person. You just need to be strong as a person. And it's not that easy when you're a child. But I also don't want to say she's abusive or anything like that, just so that I say that on camera. I do think, however, she's a callous bitch.
Yeah. Look, I think there's worth shedding a light on this, because it's it's not something that's as tangible, and maybe it's not abuse or whatever, but going
No,
forward.
you know what, Ryan? It is. It
Yeah.
is. And I need to
Yeah.
say that. You just
Yeah.
made me realize, I'm watching my words for the wrong reasons. And it is abuse. It
Yeah.
absolutely is abuse.
But it's a kind of thing where I don't, you mentioned the term bullying. I don't think it is bullying, because bullying is very tangible. You know when you're being bullied. But if someone's using some kind of like manipulation, or these kind of like cloak and dagger techniques to infiltrate like the mind of a 9-year-old, and they're using their adult mind to kind of use these tricks, obviously it's going to leave an impression on a 9-year-old, if you're like, what, 25 or 35, whatever she was at the time. And that's a very deliberate thing, it's a very pointed thing. And how do you navigate that going forward? Because we've seen in recent years, people clamping down on bullying, and
Yeah.
bullies, and verbal abuse. But this is like another layer of, meanness. How do you navigate that going forward, or speak out about it, or even bring it to your own attention? How do you know it's even happening?
I think, you know what, just like this, the fact that there's communication open on a public platform, and people are able to say, you know what it is? People need to, and I think there is a huge movement towards this, that your feelings, your experiences are valid. and that needs to be embraced. And it is slowly being embraced by society, especially the younger generation, not our generation. And people are speaking up about that kind of stuff. Look, I think the way to talk about it is through this kind of platform. When people that have some sort of following in a specific community are able to speak about this stuff, other people can start to recognize, hey, this actually happened to me. This formed a fundamental role in my entire being, and this shaped me in some way. Once you're able to identify that, you're able to work through it, which is also why I love Narcotics Anonymous. You know, you've got this 12-step program that helps you work through these issues you've suppressed, or these issues you don't want to face, and you start to unpack them and start to see them for what they are. And for me, with this particular situation, when I was doing the steps on it, because she was one of my resentments, I still haven't fully worked through it, but I was able to see that, hey, why do I feel like I need to take accountability for this? I do not need to take accountability for this. Other people around me may need to take accountability for that, but I do not. And you made me think while we're in this conversation, which I like, this is why I like these things. You made me realize, hey, why am I watching my words? Why am I not using these terms? Is it because of fear? Yes, it's because of fear. It's fear of a consequence for speaking out. And I'm sick of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's time to, this is truth hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But it would be cool if anyone's watching this and has an opinion on this, just write it in the comment section below, because this is this is why we need to have these conversations.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I look back to when I was a kid, and I think there's a difference between someone just being mean to you because they've had a rough day, and they're kind of projecting on you. That's a different story, you know. Like if you're at the shop and you're a little kid and you want a toy, and your mother says, no, you can't have it, you haven't behaved well enough, whatever. That has a lasting effect, but that's not a deliberate thing, you know. People's parents just go through stress sometimes. But with this person, she went out of her way to say, okay, cool, you guys need to be cooler. I'm deliberately going to ruin this person's life by putting her in a class where she has none of her friends, and I'm going to say it to her face. You know, this is another level of like some kind of, I don't even know how to put it, you know. And I think that's the difference, you know. Yeah,
let's make this guy happy, because we've worked through that now.
awesome.
He's happy now.
Okay, great. So what else do you want to talk about in terms of that diary entry? Do you want to talk about the boys that you liked, or should we move on?
Oh God, let me tell you that this whole journal, this first year of high school journal, is just boys. It's just boys. Like I'll show you some of the drawings that I've done in here. It is so fun. This kind of proves to me how much of an addict I was before I even picked up drugs. Because, for example, this first journal is boy crazy, looks crazy, trying to be popular crazy. And then the second year journal there's about 10 to 20 pages dedicated to just the art of smoking a cigarette. Like, I just became obsessed with things. There were things I started obsessing with. And then this journal is horrific. It's just horrific. I don't know if you can see what's on it, but I'll show you. It's just horrific. And it's all little obsessions that I built up and focused on. So this one's boy crazy. But I want to get on to this next one, which happened a few weeks later after the Clara journal. And you'll see this in greater detail now. 2nd of April, 1999. Dear Diary, I hate Clara. And I underlined hate. And I didn't use that word a lot. I mean, I probably use it a shit ton now, but I didn't, and I don't mean it. But here I wrote it like in massive letters. And I said, she said to me today in front of everyone and all our friends that my dad lost his job. And then I underlined, he never, underline. She said her mom told her to tell me that they know. My dad phoned her mom and told her we don't want her to be in our life anymore. I really can't stand her and her mother. And then I wrote a list of words to describe them. And I wrote Saturn instead of the word I was meaning to write. I went at this one. And then I say, one time she told me I was a baby. I cried. And ever since then, that's all she says to me. And then I wrote shame. This is like how my head worked then. I wrote, okay, is the name on this page? No. So I wrote love always Tony. And then I wrote, I hate. And I crossed out hate and wrote dislike. Oh, sorry. And wrote dislike her. You can't see it because I felt bad using the word hate. That's like how my mentality was. But now this takes us into a bit of my past, this entry. So I say, I remember this day, and I don't remember a lot. Like I lived that blackout kind of life, as as we've called it before. I was at Santon City. We were going to a movie. Clara's mom was actually there with us. And we were going down the escalators, and Clara said in front of all our friends, who's paying for the movie because your dad lost his job and he has nothing? And as a kid, I was horrified. I had no idea, behind closed doors, even as a child, you don't know what's really going on in your home. And I asked, so my dad and my mom were at a movie that day. And I went into their cinema and I found them and I asked my dad, and he got so angry. He nearly started crying. And he walked out of the movie, and my mom and my dad assured me, your dad does have a job. You have nothing to worry about. Anyway, he didn't. And my dad actually hadn't had a job in quite a while, because a few years before that, even 1 year, 2 years before that, he had a really bad skiing accident. And he skied into a tree. He went over a wake on water, skied into a tree and went flying in the air and hit the Vol Dam. It was the Vol River. Vol River, face first, body flat on the water, and broke all his ribs, punctured his lung, his kidney, and another organ. I don't remember what it was. He was in a coma for, I think, 3 weeks, was in hospital for this long period of time, relearning everything, how to walk. He couldn't do anything. And that's when my dad changed a lot after that accident, as any person would. And he fell into a really deep depression, going from this strong man to someone who can't walk was a big deal for him. It would be a big deal for anyone. And the family dynamic changed, a lot of things changed. And I feel like when that happened, Clara and her mom, this is just me feeling this might not be fact. I feel like they enjoyed it. Not they, let me take Clara out of the picture. She was a child. I felt like the mom enjoyed it. And at this point, she knew what my dad was going through. And to do that to a child and to speak about it behind a family's back like that and to gossip like that is kind of another level of cruelty. The man just started walking again, Side note, my dad never took this woman's shit, ever. He kind of even banned her from our house at a stage. And that day was when the friendship between Clara's mom and my mom completely ended, finally. And when my dad passed away 4 years ago, I'm standing at, my dad was Jewish and he had a Jewish funeral and we had prayers. And this woman walked into my dad's prayers. And my dad had verbalized to her, you hurt my family. You hurt my child. I don't want you in my life. He has verbalized it to her through every time. He will not greet her. And she showed up at his funeral. And that to me kind of makes me think that she enjoyed that, just like she enjoyed the accident. Maybe she's got some regrets. I highly doubt that, because pick up a phone, go on social media and make your amends, make your apologies if you feel guilty. Don't just show up to a man's funeral who told you to your face that you destroyed his family. Ooh, I needed to say that. Okay.
What I wanted to know, is this the same person that made comments about your appearance when you were really, really young?
Yes.
And told you that you need to yeah, she like made
Lose
you
weight.
wear makeup and all that stuff.
So she never ever made me wear makeup. So we have spoken about this before. So my body dysmorphic disorder started when I was 9, when I met this woman. But I'm not blaming her for it. I think I had it in me forever, like since I was young. And she used to mock me because, guys, I have Raynaud's disease, which makes my hands a weird color. And it makes my nose a weird color. It makes my ears a weird color, and I react differently to cold and heat than other people because my blood circulation's fucked. So she used to say, your nose is red, you better cover it up. And her daughter started calling me Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And that's when I started wearing makeup to school at the age of 9. Okay. And I would just put it over my nose, dude. So my nose was always a completely different color. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same person. Got you.
It is. It is the same person. So yeah, I feel like that injury was important because that was significant. And the school I went to was, sorry anyone from that school, but I did not have the best experience there.
Okay, nobody knows which school you're referring to in any event.
Yeah, true. Except some people watching.
Except
like
everyone.
Clara and her mom.
Yeah.
So it was like the school we were at was based in money, looks, and if you weren't at that kind of expected level, you felt less than. And in that moment when Clara said that to me in Sandton City, we were around a group of girls that were just from really, really well-off, wealthy families. And it was at that age devastating for me. I was embarrassed, which is funny because I feel like now in this day and age, people don't have a problem talking about money and money struggles. But I feel like back then it was this taboo subject that people were hiding from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, none of her business to go and it's irresponsible. It's actually irresponsible.
It is.
Let alone it being her business or not. I think it was clearly deliberate. I mean, what other reason do you have other than, it's not out of concern that she's saying, oh, your dad doesn't have a job. That's like an attack.
Yeah, it is. It was an attack. It was. And you know what? I carried on. Sorry, I wrote another. This is the same day. I wrote it. Obviously, it was festering in me, and I kept writing on the same day about it. And I wrote. I think this kind of shows my mental health a little bit and how I coped with this kind of stuff. It was an obsession and something I would deeply focus on. And I started to recognize my emotions weren't manageable. And I wrote about it. So 2nd of April again, dear diary, I am really feeling fuming, like a sad feeling mixed with fear. I don't like it, make it go away. And then I wrote, there is no point, it won't go away. It's because of Clara. I mean, I don't hate her, I just feel shitty because I always trusted her. I always knew she wasn't right, but I never knew she enjoyed hurting me. It really, really hurts. I feel like crying. I am so confused. I do not know what to do with myself. I really can't explain this. I feel like, never mind, I really can't explain. So I was like in this turmoil over someone I loved, a friend I loved, who was hurting me. And it's basically like my first abusive first toxic relationship. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want to say about that?
I just wanted to read that. I think it was just interesting to see how at that age I was able at this point in my life to write what I was feeling, which was healing for me. And it was a pattern I kept throughout my life, but there seemed to be more self-awareness in the first 2 journals, some sort of self-awareness. I mean, I do have a lot of victim mentality, obviously already showing in these 2, But then there's the sense of self-awareness that comes with it, where like, for example, I say, I don't hate her, I am just hurt. And as we go through my journals, as I get older, I'm using words like hate. When I'm on drugs, it's like this deep-seated resentment that I can't get past. But yeah, I seem to kind of play with it in my mind and think, you know what, not everyone's bad. And I'm trying to make excuses, or not make excuses, trying to see things a bit more clearly.
Yeah, I mean, what I find interesting about that particular journal entry, this is someone who's what, 12, 13 years old? How old are you?
Yeah, 12, yeah.
12. And the thing is, I mean, you speak about like the victim mentality and whatever, but what I'm getting from that is not necessarily a victim mentality, but more of like, you just hurt that, you trusted your best friend at the time. Her mom was clearly attacking you for or putting things on you for many years, and this is just a hurt person on the other side trying to figure it out, and having self-awareness to write it down and just say, listen, I'm struggling.
I think I needed to hear that, because I think also that part of accountability in me tries to take accountability for too much and say I play victim too much. And maybe when I was a kid, it wasn't really. Maybe I was a victim in that circumstance. I mean, I was 12.
Hmm.
Okay, can we run through a few more?
Yeah, sure.
Do we have time?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, because this is just one line that I think is the funniest thing ever. Well, no, it gets funnier. Okay, wait. 28th of May. So I was obsessed with this one guy for like years. He was my first boyfriend when I was like a kid, and I was just obsessed with him. Anyway, here's the journal entry. Let me think of a name for him. Give me a guy's name.
Devin.
Evan.
Yeah, either.
Okay. Dear diary, I don't like Evan anymore. My friend put me off him. She said he smokes. How gross, he's a druggie. Bitch started doing meth a few years later and went to rehab like fucking 1,000,000 times. But this guy smokes.
Druggy.
Druggy, absolute druggy. I would never do that ever. And then in my next journal, I write a whole fucking essay about cigarettes. But I thought I would get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, what I found interesting is that you said that each journal represents some form of obsession.
Yeah.
Which I find quite interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think that's what I do like about you, is the fact that not necessarily that you get obsessed, but you have this drive to, when you do something, you do it properly,
I do get obsessed.
Yeah, and I think that's great when you can channel it into like a positive, in a positive way, and not so much of an attention seeking or victim kind of way. I think that's kind of cool, and you can kind of see that transformation as you go through the diaries. You can see to where you are now. It's like you're taking accountability. You're still obsessed, but it's for a greater good, and not so internal or like victim.
Absolutely. And also in this journal, I speak a lot about my dreams to become a Hollywood actress. And like, I really believe it's going to happen. So the obsessions was around boys. I spoke about it, Clara, quite a bit, but not that much. And Hollywood. So that's super. This journal's a bit like blah, because I'm still coming into my own, but it is important to go through it to see this development from here to the chaos that happens in my second year of high school. This is chaos, ironically, with it in pink. And this isn't that much.
And that one looks more chaotic.
It really is. It really does look like that.
But the thing is, that one is pre-addiction.
Yes.
That you're reading from now is pre-addiction. But what's interesting about that is you can see like clear themes being introduced to show where the addictive behavior later came from, you know.
That's
Which,
why I think it's so important to go through this stuff, and why I wanted to do it at my 10 years, you know.
yeah.
I do want to see how this all happened. But
Yeah.
while I can interrupt you, what's the time there? I'm meeting a sponsee just now.
At 2 minutes to 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay, perfect. So do you think we should end it there, or
Yeah,
carry on with, okay?
I think we can wrap it up. You can
Yes, let's
kind of
wrap this one up.
summarize it, and then also like maybe introduce what you're going to do in the next installment.
Perfect. Okay, so guys, in this journal, we've done kind of half of it. It's obviously just the beginning of my journey, you know, covering the bullying, covering my dad, what happened with my father, covering that kind of relationship. And as we go on, all of this kind of plays this role in me developing a character, basically a character, and taking on this role to protect myself in high school. You know, putting on a mask after mask after mask in order to protect myself. What happens towards the end of this, which we'll do next time, is high school, I am in the popular crowd. And as time goes on, my true personality comes to the surface, my weirdness, my quirkiness, and I get iced out of that group. And from there, everything changes. You know, like if you tell me I'm weird, I'm going to show you weird. And this drive for creating this character, this person that wasn't really me, goes into full swing. And this is a good basis, this journal, to show how I get to that point. And I feel like it's really important. So what we're going to do is create a series on this. It's going to be called Trauma Time with Tony Quinn. We're going to keep it in this format, which is really cool, and have Rhino and me, you know, discuss this kind of stuff. And I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on this particular topic that we've discussed now, you know, adults' relationships with children, commenting on their weight, commenting on what they look like, and the drive for popularity as a child, and dealing with our parents' problems, dealing with what's going on at home versus, you know, how you kind of project yourself in the real world. And when you're exposed, you know, I was exposed. My dad lost his job. My dad became exposed. I didn't even know that was an issue. And then I had to face it because I started to realize, hey, this is an issue. And yeah, so I think more trauma, it does get funnier. I promise you it gets funnier, because when I start smoking, fam, I am the worst person, and it is hilarious. Okay. I just want to thank you all for being on this amazing journey with me. I have made it to 10 years clean and sober, and it blows my mind. It's really emotional. And I know this is a one day at a time program. And really, if you woke up earlier than me today and you're sober, you've got more clean time than me. A decade is huge to me. I never thought I'd get you. I never thought I'd live this long. And here we are, you know, spreading the message, creating dialogue, and just living our best lives. And Rhino, thank you for everything that you do. You are the best friend ever. And I'm so glad to have developed such good friendships in recovery, honestly. And yeah, I will see you all in the next episode. Remember, we do recover.
Peace.
Peace. Oh, I haven't. Peace.